Okay, good afternoon, everyone. And for those still here with us, we say thank you for staying through, howbeit that you might be in a number of things in your respective place of work, school, or wherever it is you are joining us from. We just want to say thank you. We'll be going to the next session now, and the session basically hinges on the business of crop production. We've had the opportunity of the earlier session speaking to finance, and there were quite some interesting questions for a number of persons wanting to know the addresses of the office addresses of even some of the panelists. We found that quite hilarious, but of course, you can Google them, like we say, go to LinkedIn and search for them. I'm sure that, by the time you drop them one or two chats, in a couple of days, you'll get a response and you'll be able to find them in whatever branch of their organizations where they sit. But it's nice to know that, we're very interested in what is going on, particularly around agriculture. And we are more interested in how we can also benefit and be better off for it. So I know the aspect of the business of crop production will not be an exception. Without further ado, just so that we can save some time as well, I'd just like to call on our panelists in no particular order. And once all of them are fully on screen, we would then like them to just make a brief introduction of themselves. We'll please recommend that you keep it very crisp, short, and very simple. So I'd like to bring up first Favor Agbo. Favor Agbo work with NASC, Nigeria Agricultural Seed Council, as one of the research assistants that we have there. So welcome, Favor. You could just help with opening your video so that we can see your face and then we can move on. Also, would like to bring up Mr. Seun Solomon. He is the CEO of AgriWealth Limited. He would also be joining us in this session. You're welcome, Mr. Seun. Would like to also see your video as well. We also have Onyaole Poku. I hope I got that right. Unfortunately, she's currently in the State House, and you know sometimes how those things go. All your devices get confiscated while you are there until you are out. So we're hoping that she'll be able to join us, during the course of this conversation and as we move on. So Favor, we're yet to see your face, but while that is coming up, Mr. Sheldon, you have a few minutes just to quickly run us through who you are, what you do, and as we go into this session, please.
Okay, can you hear me, please?
Absolutely, yes.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Rachel. Thank you for this platform. I, Oluwaseun Solomon, I'm a farmer, a crop agronomist, and I'm into sustainable production of short-term crops, arable crops, crops like cucumbers, tomatoes, uh, peppers, sweet corn, short-term crops in general. And I have been doing that for the past 7 to 8 years now. And I've been able to supply major markets in Nigeria, in Southwest, especially markets like my 12. I've been able to build, a agro logistic for farmers. And uh, the the summary of all I do is to add to the food production in Nigeria and to ensure food security and to ensure responsible consumption and healthy production of crops and food for everyone. So that is all I do as an agronomist in AgriWealth Integrated Farm. I'm a consultant, a coach, a mentor to many farmers in Nigeria.
Mm. I love that. A consultant, a coach, a mentor. We need to give ourselves some of these names. It's not easy to be in the agri business, but thank you so very much, Mr. Sheon, for that very good introduction. Um, Favor, Madam Favor, are you able to speak with us now? You might not have a green background. I see that your face looks very, we are finding it difficult. So if that's the case, I would just recommend that, you can take out the background and so that we can flow with you and just continue. So you can unmute yourself and please speak. Yeah, you can go on to speak. Please unmute yourself and speak. You're still muted. Can you unmute yourself, please?
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Your
Yes,
background
I
is a
have,
little
but
bit.
can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you now.
All right. I'm sorry. The background is a little bit noisy, but hopefully. All right.
Favor, we can't seem there seems to be some noise in your background. So I'll just say this for the benefit of our listeners and the entire team. I'll just say once you're able to sort that out, you can just nudge us via the chat. We'll be able to bring you up fully and then begin the conversation. So, Mr. Sean, so I think today you have the floor. So I'm just going to be running with you on a number of things we'll be discussing. So first, right, can you help demystify crop production? What exactly is crop production? And, for us young people, what should we be looking at?
Okay, thank you. Crop production is just very simple, just as we've called it, or as it is crop, talking about plants and talking about the entirety of planting from the beginning, the preparation, and producing, uh, food. The process of producing fruit is called crop production. So it's a process. It involves different, stages. Talking about the soil preparation, understanding the selecting your crop, and bringing it into life. The process of planting to generate fruit or to generate proceed is called crop production. In agriculture, we for some people call it farming, but it is not farming. So crop production is just a part of the agricultural sector. So, crop production involves the activity or the process of planting seed and getting produce or getting yield or getting fruits or for human consumption, animal consumption, and for other purposes.
Okay. All right. Thank you so very much. So in earlier sessions, there were conversation on what young people should be going to in terms of agriculture, and I think there were lots of conversation that went around horticulture and short duration crop, and it's just coincidental that that's really like your specialty. But before we dive into that, of course, I know there could be a bias in your response because you're of course an horticulture farmer, as it were. But what would you say, right? In crop production, we have the very short duration crop, the ephemerals growing within 1 year or less, and then we have the perennial crops, the cash crop, as it were. In terms of crop production and young persons, really, which would you say? Now, take away your organization as an horticulture farmer and try to just respond to us generally. Which aspect, of crop production would you advise young people today to go into?
Thank, thank you. Thank you for that question. This is what many young people always ask whenever they come for my training. And as a young person, even myself in my farm, if you come to my farm, you will see many short-term crops that their gestation period is 45 days for cucumbers, 60 days, we have 90 days, we have 120, and we have 7 months. So these are the short-term crops that can give, from the last session, talking about the agri-finance, one of the speaker said something, or one of the panelists said something, talking about cash flow, having, a cash flow at the same time, starting small. So, the what I would advise young people or farmers in Nigeria to start with is short-term crops. You don't take your investments, you don't put your investments on a long-term crop that will not encourage, a very, let me say, fast cash flow. It discourages many people. So, and in agriculture, in crop production, when you are coming into the business, there's one active ingredient we try to explain to people, and that is what I call patience. So it is not the day you plant, you harvest. It's not the day you harvest, you get the money. So if you want to last in this business, you want to be relevant, you want to be encouraged. So it is better you go for the short-term crop. When you get it right, you can now begin to advance into the perennial crop and go into the long-term investment. So my advice for people coming into the business is to start with short-term crops within 45 to 120 days.
All right. Thank you so very much. I kind of like your flow. Start small, start with the shorter duration crop, and then grow into perennial crops. But you said one very vital thing. I know in the last session they had mentioned that cash flow is king. And you also re-emphasized that in your statement around cash flow. But it dawned on me, that doing should I say long duration crop or perennial crops, as they say it, does not give you that cash flow, which is of course very rational in your conversation. So a quick one now to you, and this session has to be as practical as possible. And I'm glad that you are a practitioner on the field. And those are the kind of questions want to ask. Peradventure, if you are listening from anywhere, watching from anywhere, please, if you have specific questions, drop it in the chat. We have the privilege of Mr. Sheung still very much with us until we have some of our other panel join, so we can exhaust as many questions as we have from our audience as possible. So a quick question, short duration crop, 45 days cucumber, like you mentioned, and the likes. How much can I, as a young person, how much do I need to invest? What size of land do I need? What do I need to do to even go into this short duration crop, say the 45 or 60-day crop?
All right, thank you. Now, it's a very good question. At the same time, I want us to know that as a young person coming into the agribusiness, some 5, 7, 10 years ago, it is very easy. It is very easy starting now. If you are looking or considering the factors, many factors now, talking about the cost of inputs, talking about acquiring a land. Let me start with getting the farmland. As a young person or as a farmer coming into the business, if you cannot afford the money to buy a farmland, the first option is look for a farm estate or a farm settlement. You join them, you rent or you lease the farmland with agreement, please. Take note of that, with a concrete agreement, solid one, so you will not lose whatever you have invested on the land on the long run, or maybe during the production process. So if you cannot afford to get a farmland, lease the land or lease a farmland, you go to several farm settlement or farm estates. Now, if you start with that, it will reduce the cost of production, your expenses. Now, that will give you that leverage to come into the business. Now, I want to also say that if you want to have a sustainable, or let me say a workable agribusiness in this crop production, you must understand and you must invest into knowledge. That's another vital thing you must do. Invest into knowledge. Go to someone that knows this thing very well. Let them hold you by your hands and lead you on this pathway to success. You must understand it, and that is why I organize training most times on my farm continuously. Even some of the agri graduates from different institutions in Nigeria, I organize training for them after your 4 years, 5 years or duration in school. You come to the farm, let us teach you, let's give you the hands-on experience needed so you can be a good agronomist. So knowledge is very important before you jump into the business. Now, talking about the cost of coming into the business, or let me say the capital or the amounts to be invested. Let me just say in a summary now, what you will need if you want to do cucumbers for let's say you want to invest in cucumbers, you will need at least 1 acre of land. But since I've said you should start small, I would advise if you can start with as small as 3 plots. I'm talking about business, not subsistence farming. 3 plots. Then you can now grow from your 3 plots. You can now begin to grow again and expand your business. Now, if you have any challenge on the 3 plots, one, you will be able to control that issue or the problem. You will be able to, you won't have spent too much on the 3 plots compared to what you'll be doing on 1 acre. Let me say this too. It is not about the size of the land, how big your farmland is. It is the GAPs. What is GAPs? The good agricultural practices. What you do. So if I'm doing 3 plots with good agricultural practices and someone is doing 2 acres with the wrong practices or not doing the right thing, the person will end up not getting the result I'll be getting. Last year, I did habanero pepper. Also this year, I did habanero pepper. Now, what I'm able to get on my 1 acre of habanero pepper is what some farmers are getting on their 5 acres. It is what some farmers are getting in the greenhouse. I did habanero pepper open field 1 acre, and I'm getting the result that greenhouse farmers are getting. What's the result 5 acres farmers open field are getting? What is the difference? The difference is just knowledge, the agricultural practices. So, in a summary, you will need nothing less than 2 million naira as your capital coming into the cucumber business, because the 2 million naira comprises of number one, your inputs. It comprises or it's a part of the 2 million naira is the cost of leasing the land, the inputs. When I talk about the input, I'm talking about the necessary things you will need during your production. I'm talking about the seed. I'm talking about the fertilizers. I'm talking about the agro inputs, the pesticide, the fungicide, the nematicide, the stimulants. I'm talking about the necessary things you need for your seedling production and other agro inputs like watering can, your natural sprayer, and the cost of labor too. Remember to add that to it. So if I'm to summarize everything, at least for that 45 days of planting, and the 45 days is the day you'll be harvesting, not the day you are going to get back your money. Again, don't always believe that you will get the entire money at once. It will be coming gradually. So the 45 days is the beginning of your harvest. So your 2 million naira is the normal, it is the current cost of starting the business for cucumber on 1 acre. But even if you have that money, you can start with 3 plots.
Okay, very critical conversations, and already we have some questions in the chat. So I'm just going to hold on a little bit because I really want you to get to a point where I feel comfortable enough to then begin to throw questions, from the audience. So I want you to view it this way. I currently earn, say, 200,000, right? And I'm able to, say, save 50,000 every other month for 1 year. And that's about 600,000, right? If you look at it in that particular way. So my question to you is, so with 600,000, based on what you have said, which is like the low-hanging fruits vegetable I can go into, I need about 2 million to do it. So it means my 600,000 naira cannot do anything. Is there anything I can do, with my 600,000 naira? Again, I'm just still focusing on cucumbers for now before we even go into other things. Yes.
Okay, let me say this. There are many things you can do with your 600,000 naira, but it will not be cucumbers. Though, I'm talking from the standpoint of, a sustainable farmer. I'm talking from that angle. We have local farmers in Nigeria too, and these local farmers don't even spend up to 200,000 naira for their 1 acre of cucumbers. But what we get, our practice, and the turnover at the end of the production is the difference. Now, let me say this. Local farmers will plant local seed. Local farmer would not use all the inputs I have listed. They don't have any business with fungicide or pesticide. In fact, even if they're going to do all of these things, it's just one part of it. If I'm talking about pesticide now, I'm talking of different active ingredients. We're talking about different active ingredients of fungicide. Sorry. Now we're talking about different active ingredients. Now I'm going to use at least 5 active ingredients of fungicide, 5 different active ingredients of pesticide, 5 different categories of stimulants. I'm going to be using all of these things. Now, the kind of seed I'll be planting are expensive seed, hybrid seed, not local seed. So I cannot plant hybrid seed and do it in a local way. That is the reason for the 2 million I mentioned. But if you want to do the local practice, that you don't even need irrigation, because if we are to look at it, the cost of irrigation in Nigeria now for 1 acre or even for 3 plots is plus and minus 300,000 naira. So if you don't want to do irrigation farming, you want to do rain-fed farming, you want to do local seed, which I will also advise some people that does not have that capital. They can start with that. I'm talking about the local seed now. If you get to the market, I do tell people that come to my training, I tell them before you go into agribusiness, especially crop production, please start your production from the market, not from the farmland. Start from the market. Know
Yeah.
what the market is demanding. Know what the market wants.
Okay,
For
so Mr.
example,
Shell, let me just stop you there. You are going to a point where I
okay,
was still going to come to, so I don't want you to get there yet.
okay,
But
sir.
you made very strong conversations here around what to do. So a quick question, again, going back, I think your analogy is now clear to everyone, listening, and I think they understand, the area and the perspective with which you are speaking. We can start at every point in time, but you're only looking at the sustainability, and of course, as a young person,
Mm,
what's your time and what's your investment going into, and not
exactly,
just one
exactly.
mega fund. So if I would just ask you, don't worry, you don't have to run through all the data and all the numbers, but just give us an idea. If you spend 2 million in one cycle for cucumber, what's your return like? Just give an idea.
Okay, if you spend 2 million naira, before I can give you the particular amounts you'll be getting, it all depends on the season as well. Because these crops have their gluts and they have their peak.
Mm,
So if you are doing it when you're not supposed to do it, or let me say, if you're doing it at the glut, the period where the prices are crashing. For example, now tomatoes prices are crashing in Nigeria. Habanero pepper price is crashing in Nigeria. And the only crop that is selling fast now, and people are cashing out and making money, is cucumbers and some other short-term crops. Now, if I'm talking about tomatoes now, there was a time people were selling at 120K per crate per basket. Now, if talking about cucumbers now, if you invest 300 naira and this period when the price is stable and is very good for anyone to come into, now you should be getting nothing less than 4 to 5 million naira as your
gross.
as the gross income at the end
Okay.
of the gestation period. That's 60 days. That should be your gross income. So of course, is a good one for 45 days or for 60 days.
Wow, this is huge money. So, Mr. Sloman, I know you are holding information, but if you are under my own session, you cannot hold the information. We will fish all the information out. So, for
No
cucumber, for
problem.
example, for a lot of people already saying, "Oh, okay, wow, I can spend 2 million and get 5 million." Or let's be very conservative. Let's say I get 100%, I get 4 million back, right? Based on what you
Yeah.
have said, and looking at the time. So can you just advise us, for example, when is the glut period and when is the best period? So we want to learn from you. That's why we are here to talk to you. Yes.
Okay, my advice for anyone coming into the business that want to grow cucumber or want to produce cucumber is okay, before I even tell you when the glut and peak period in Nigeria or the one we have in Nigeria, I would like to say this. I don't even my production, I don't mind if it is glut or peak. What is a game of number. all I do is, even in the glut, so when the price of this commodity or this produce are crashing in the market, it is a game of number. If you are getting at least 300 to 400 bags of cucumbers per acre on your farm, you would definitely, number one, break even, make profits, and smile back home at the end of the day. But if you're not getting up to that, for example, now in the peak period, you got 100 bags of cucumbers, and we are selling at 20,000 naira per bag. You will sell that 100 bag and you think you are making money. But if you do the same thing in the glut, you would, you will come out there and shout and say that it is not making sense. The business is not good, it's not profitable. It is just because you have not gotten it right. You don't know how to maximize your yield. So the glut for cucumber is rainy season. Anytime the rains, in the rainy season. And the reason for the glut is just because many farmers that cannot afford irrigation farming, now have the opportunity to enter into the business and leverage on rain. So that is the reason for the glut, because cucumbers will be many in the market, will be plenty. So marketers or buyers will have option and they will price at any amount. So that is the reason for the glut. But in the dry season, or during anytime there is drought, currently we are witnessing droughts in Nigeria, because the rain is not really helping farmers. Now, in the dry season or during the time, anytime when there's no rain, the rain-fed farmers does not have the opportunity to produce. So we are left with farmers that have irrigation system. So these farmers now are the one making the money because they can produce, not waiting for the rain. So the dry season, the prices will come up. The rainy season, it comes down because of many farmers that come into the business to produce.
All right, very good. Just a quick one. You touched about market approach. Just explain that
Yeah.
phenomenon again, the market approach for people going into agric.
Okay. For the markets, are you asking? You mean what kind of market to do, or to? I don't understand what. Come again with the question, please. Please come again. Your question. I want to get that question clearly. Hello, are you
Sorry,
there?
just a minute. I have just my baby who has just run down to me, so just bear with me. So a quick
Okay.
question. Just a quick question. So you talked about for anybody going into crop production need to understand that they need to look at the market first before they even farm.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I'm
please, I
with
would just
you.
like you to respond based on that. Apologies for my child just running to me. Thank you.
Okay, no challenge. Now, let me quickly say this. Before you do any uh, business in, let me, not even just for crop alone, even for other parts of agriculture, have a market. If you don't have a market and you're producing, who will buy from you? Don't just assume, don't just believe that, oh, the market is there. People are consuming this thing, people can buy this, people can, people are eating this in my area. Yes, even if they are eating it, please ensure you have created the market. So you do a market survey, ask around for questions, and make sure you do your best to connect with other producers and let them connect you with markets. Marketing is not my problem. I've been able to create that connection, even for some of my trainees and my mentees in the business. We have been able to create good markets, not just the open markets. We have markets for, we have the individual market. We have, some other forms of markets that will supply to not just the open market. So start with having customers that can offtake your produce, that can buy from you. You are very sure of who you are producing for before you produce. If you don't have who you produce for, when your produce are ready, you will beg people to sell it or you will beg people to buy from you, and you will be begging to sell your produce. And doing that, you will not make money from it, because they will want to price at any amount, and you'll be forced to sell, because this thing are short-term crops and they are perishable. So in order not to be fall into the this mess of post-harvest loss, or having people to begging people to buy your produce, why not go and create the market first? Do a market survey, understand what the market wants. For example, in cucumber, one of the fast selling variety is the dark variety. They want the dark green variety. So the market buy that at a higher price than the light green variety in the southwest. But if you go to the east, the light green variety sells better than the dark green variety. So understand your market, understand what the market wants. There are some parts of the southeastern part of Nigeria, if you produce the dark green variety, they will not buy from you. You'll be forced to move it down, and moving it down to where you will sell it to, there will be some waste, or you will lose some of the produce, and you are losing your money. So understand the market, understand your location, what the people there want, and create a market for your produce. That's why I said your production start from the market, not from the farmland.
All right, thank you very much. In between I got distracted, so just pardon me, as well as the audience. I sincerely apologize for that. Sometimes that's what you have when you have a baby in the house. Okay, so a quick one that we also need to learn and to also see from here is, you stress the fact that, for example, the drought we are currently experiencing in the Southwest, the North, in the other hand, some part of the North experiencing, significant level of flooding,
Oh,
and
yeah.
so this is, of course, changing the entire dynamics. There are questions and people asking for your mobile, for your contact, for this and for that. So for everybody asking, his full name, go and look for him on LinkedIn. That's the best. And probably, he might be able to mentor one person before we finish, today. But another question, and I think, okay, another thing to say is, when you did your analysis around cucumber, be it in the glut period or in the prime period, as it were, one of the striking thing that you said is, as long as you follow the GAP, the good agronomic practices, you are still going to break even, irrespective of whether it is the glut season and whether it is the the prime season. And I think that is also very key for a lot of our viewers that are joining us in this particular session. So there are a number of questions, but I'm looking for the most interesting question that I can okay, some people are saying, how can I come and learn practical? We're not doing just cucumbers, right? It's the entire value chain for horticulture, as it were, that he's been addressing.
Yeah.
It started from 40, 45 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120, even up to 7 months. These are all vegetable crop, that we are looking at. But a quick one I also want you to respond into, right? As you look at these entire value chains, and for young people who are going into it, can I do this, in absentia, for example? Can I go into this level of farming in absentia and still get the best of results?
All right. Thank you so much for that question. Now, let me say this. Before I can give you an answer, let me say this. What you don't inspect, don't expect it. So, whatever you don't inspect, don't expect. Now, crop production requires, even if it is not your presence, it requires someone who is in charge. So, some people, I'm saying this because of my experience with many, let me use the word, farm owners in diaspora. They have farms in Nigeria. Whenever people contact me, reach out to me, hello, we want to do a farm, I'll tell them, where are you calling from? Where are you, or where's your location? Say, oh, I'm in the US. I want to have a farm in Nigeria. The first question I ask them is, are you ready for this business? Do you have a team? Do you have a team that can run this business the way you would like, or the way you would have done it if you were around? That is one of the first and most important thing, because farmers in Nigeria that are even in Nigeria are having challenges, issues running the farming business. How much more you in diaspora. At the same time, I'm not saying that people in diaspora cannot run businesses in Nigeria. In fact, I've been able to mentor many people, many of them, and they are having successful agri businesses in Nigeria, and they are doing fine. Not only in Nigeria, even in Africa. I've been to many countries to set up farms in Africa for people in diaspora as well. So where I'm going is your business need attention. It might not be coming from you, but it should come from someone who can run the business for you. For your farm, you will need an agronomist, not just an agronomist that is not an agronomist by title, someone who understands how to nurture crops, someone who understands the English the crops are speaking, someone who can relate, someone who can respond, so a crop doctor, someone who can, give them what they want, someone who have this X-ray eye that can see, that can communicate and give you your results. That's number one. Secondly, you will need someone who would manage the administrative part of your farm, because many farms now, they are doing fine, but many of them are still not making profits or getting it right. It is just because of lack of administration, understanding farm ergonomics, and how to relate with, number one, your farm workers, how to relate with, number two, the input you have. I set up a farm 2 years ago in Abeokuta, under that local government, a 50 acres of land for maize, flour mills of Nigeria. We supply them, and they contacted me as a consultant. And when I got there, I observed, the first thing I observed is the workers are stealing the maize seed, and then we were planting the most expensive maize seed. So I had to block that loophole from them stealing the maize seed, selling to local farmers in the community, selling fertilizers to farmers in the community, making money. So at the end of the day, we have to discover that the farm is not paying the workers, owing the workers for some months. So they are forced to steal to, care for themselves. So you have to understand the administrative part of your business. So if you cannot do this thing yourself, you must have a team. You must have someone or people around you that can run it for you. So once again, if you don't, what you don't expect, don't expect.
All
I can
right,
hear
thank you
you.
so much. Yes, I'm back. I'm back, fully back, and I'm really, really enjoying myself. Sometimes, I like the number of things that you said. So I trained as an agronomist first before, venturing into some of the things I do today. So I think I have a new name for
Wow.
myself. Even though I don't have a PhD, I'll call myself a crop doctor, just like you have said. So I think
Wow.
I appreciate that. So a quick one, I'm just going to digress a little bit and then bring you back. I just saw one of the
Okay.
questions online coming from Happiness. And Happiness says, I don't want to use pesticide. I don't want to use all the fungicide. I'm growing organic. What word would you have for her, and how would you advise her if, for example, she's going into a cucumber or a vegetable, other vegetable commodities?
All right. Thank you, Happiness, for that question. Uh, it is, if you say uh, you don't want to use pesticide, but you want to go organic, there are organic pesticides, there are organic fungicides, there are organic inputs. Before I go into organic farming, I have my organic farm as well. Before I go into organic farming, I started the organic farming in my home, in my compound, sorry. I have a garden, I do home garden. So that was where I started the organic farming. I did a model farm in my compound, and I was able to do some practicals and get to know how those organic inputs work. For example, let me mention neem oil. Neem oil is an organic input. You use it. We have molasses. We have different organic inputs. I might not be able to mention everything now, but we have organic pesticide, organic fungicide, organic, stimulants, and we even have organic fertilizers too. And we have them. At the same time, you might not even go with fertilizer. You can just go with the compost, or you do organic, the organic waste. I mean, I'm talking about the waste from animals. So, but I've even been able to work on a project. I did that project last year, biogas production for farmers. So whereby we can generate methane gas to power up our irrigation on the farm. So, excuse me, the residue from the biogas, the residue is what you can also apply on your crop, on the soil, as your organic fertilizer as well. That residue has decomposed already, so you apply it, it goes down there and starts working. Rabbit urine, rabbit poo, cow dung, different organic fertilizer manure you can use. So it's not compulsory you do inorganic farming. You can also practice organic, purely organic. But let me tell you one thing. If you are doing purely organic, be ready for the stress. Be ready for to combat a lot of things. Let me say this: in dry season, you focus more on pests, and in rainy season, you focus more on diseases.
Okay, the expert is speaking. So Happiness, thank you for that question. At least you're able to push me away from some of the planned question, and I'm glad that Mr. Shewan has done justice to that. So for a lot of people clamoring to find him, please, for the purpose of this session, I'm his PA, so you have to come through me and you have to pay $20,000 to be able to reach him. Anyway, that's the joke. You can find him on LinkedIn by his name, and then you can continue to reach out to him. But very fantastic insights that we are learning from him here today. So it's very clear in your words. Again, one of the things we are holding: what you don't inspect, you cannot expect. So my follow-up question to that conversation would then be, so does it mean for me as a young person who is working, I don't want to quit my job. I don't have as much entrepreneurial mind, for lack of word, or let me use our local context. I don't have liver like you, to go and start a business or just leave my paying job and then come and run a farm, as it were. Does it mean I cannot even invest in crop production? Considering you said if I do not inspect it, I should not expect anything out of it.
Oh, so sorry. Let me quickly say this. I didn't say that if you don't expect it, you don't expect anything out of it. You get something, but you don't get up to what you should get. Now, let me say this. There are some other crops that you can do that will not require so much of your attention. There are other crops you can do. But when you want to do, you're talking about the short-term crops like all these, let me call them exotic vegetables and fruits. Now they require attention, daily care. If you cannot handle maize the way you are handling cucumbers, you cannot handle uh, tomatoes the way you are handling potatoes. So they're not the same. So the management are different, and you can also look at some crops you can do that does not require so much of your time or attention. I have people in my farming community in Ogun State where some of them are working in the bank, some work in different offices. In the farm estates close to my farm, there's a farm settlement there close to my farm. Many of them comes sometimes weekend, sometimes a day in a week, just to come check their maize farm, check their potato farm, and check some other crops they are doing. Some are even doing cassava. We never knew that cassava would become, that expensive. So it will become so expensive that you can make your money from it. So people are doing cassava. One thing you need from cassava is initial setup. Get the land, clear the land, prepare the soil, plant your cassava. Though I don't plant my cassava the local way, I do my cassava in a very, in a standard way, in a sustainable way. Let me use that word now, and I get what local farmers don't get on their cassava farm. Now, if you do cassava, the initial stage is just when they are growing. You need to do some weeding. Once you have people that can monitor it for you, just follow up on them, check on what they are doing. Don't leave your money and go rest, sleep, come back and expect something. You not get it. Even if you are putting your money there, at least once in a week, pay a visit to where your money is. Check on the work. Even if you don't have the experience, you should know what is good and what is bad. So that is what I'm trying to say. So
All
even if you're
right.
not in or you don't have the time, you can do it.
Okay, awesome. So you are helping to demystify, debunk, so to say, that, if you are not on the farm, you cannot get anything out of it. But again, it is also very important, from what you have said, to note that we still need to at least visit on a regular basis to ensure that what we get at the end at least should be commensurate to what you are getting. So there's another question here from the audience. It's also similar to what Happiness has asked. And this person was very good in writing the question. Said, I'm going to be doing organic. And this is coming from Barakat. Says, I want to do organic. Please tell me how can I cultivate vegetables, particularly like cucumbers organically, and said, and still make good profit like so referencing that and buttressing that far. But I know you've addressed it earlier on. So I just wanted to, show you that a lot of people want to get it like you. And I'm glad with the numbers that you are calling. Maybe, I will leave my paying job as well and come and get training from you so that I'll probably begin to also produce. So somebody is asking, and this is coming from Latifa Lawal. She's saying, what would you advise in terms of the irrigation system that is cost effective and is also efficient, to run on a vegetable farm?
Okay, now, Barakat, thank you for that question. Now, quick one. What I want you to know about irrigation is there are different kind of irrigation or different types of irrigation. We have drip irrigation system. We have the surface system. We have different kind of irrigation system. And the one I mentioned earlier is the drip system. And and every crop has its own kind of irrigation. You don't use the same irrigation for all the crops. So, for example, drip irrigation is good for pepper, for tomatoes, for cucumbers, and some other crop. Why I'm saying that is this. I mentioned earlier that in rainy season, most farmers uh, fight
Combat pest,
fungi, diseases,
fungus.
issues with diseases, different kind of diseases, bacterial weeds, downy mildew, and so on those crops. Now, uh, to avoid, you know, you now doing it yourself, like inflicting those crop with diseases yourself. That's what many farmers are doing. I have a farmer friend that, lease a land around a dredging site where they dredge, sap sand and all of this solid minerals. The dredging machine is always on the water, and you know the what's it called, the oil, the petrol, the diesel coming out of the engine is flowing into the water, and she is pumping the water to her farm.
Um,
Now that is destroying the crop and is also introducing them to disease. They are prone to attack, prone to disease. So, as a farmer, you must understand number one, where your water is coming from. That's why most times in cucumber farming or in other crop like tomatoes and the rest, after the rain fall, for example, it's rained this morning. After the rainfall, towards the sunset in the evening, we apply fungicide just to treat them in case, of course, not even in case, definitely the rain, the wind, the water would have brought some diseases, and it has it has brought it into your farm, has infected your crop with some diseases, and you will not see it now. So we have some preventive measures, we have some input to use to attack those diseases, and we have some input to use to cure them, just like we have preventive measures for human being. So what you need to prevent, that's why I mentioned different kind of active ingredients earlier on. I'm talking about the one that can prevent, the one that can cure, and the one that can defend. So they will not be prone to this attack. So now back to the irrigation question. Well, we have rain gun system, we have drip system, we have different kind of irrigation. So the one that is you can still do that will not require too much money is the rain gun system, or maybe the manual irrigation, but it is stressful. I will advise you still go for the drip system. And if you cannot afford the cost of drilling a borehole, then you look for a farmland that has water. or maybe they have borehole and every farmers are sharing. I have a farm settlement in Epe. I've been there before. I've trained some farmers there as well. They did joint borehole and they share the water, and the water is sustainable for everybody. So, or if you cannot do that, you look for a farmland close to the water body. My farm in Ogun State is close to the water. It's close to a river. The river never runs dry. I don't want to call it Oshimiratata, but it never runs dry. So, it's I have water even in dry season and in rainy season. So that water, even after pumping the water, I treat the water before applying to my crop. So in that case, you have been able to reduce the cost of doing a borehole and the drip system. Just get the drip system. Look, go to the market, get it. Look, come and learn how to install this thing yourself. They are very simple things anyone can do. You don't need to go to school before you learn it. Just come to the farm. We'll train you, practical training. Then you can install the innovation yourself.
All right, Mr. Sean. Now you're advertising and you need to pay for that advertisement.
Don't worry, don't worry.
No, it's fine. I'm just joking. So I just want you very quickly. Now I see now we are running out of time. Sometimes you think you have the whole time, and then you just see that, oh, you're running out of time. So I need you to help me, right? Earlier when you were speaking, you talked about what to avoid in the wet season, which is of course the diseases. And then in the dry season is the pest. Can you just very briefly just explain a little bit further for the benefit of our audience?
Okay, please come again. What's to expect in
What
dry
you
season and
battle during the wet
okay,
season is diseases, right? And
okay.
then what you battle during the dry season is pest. Can you just, maybe explain a little bit for the benefit of our audience?
Okay, let me just quickly say why I say that. The reason behind my that statement is this. In dry season, these pests are always, you know, they have time to come out. In rainy season, most of them, they don't come out. They are scared of coming out because of the rain. And some of these insect and pests, they don't, they can be affected by the rainfall. The flood can even sweep them away. Then some of them are, the flying insect or pest can be affected and they can even they can be injured. So they fight for their life in rainy season. So they will go into, let me use the word extinction for some time, or they'll go for hibernation
Estivation,
for some
hibernation,
time.
absolutely.
Then in dry season, they will come out. There are some pests you will not see in rainy season. One of my students that came for the training told me, "Oh, sir, this is not what you taught me." I said, "I will not go into the forest to bring all the pests and show you, but I will tell you that pests would attack your farm. So if you are seeing the pest and it didn't show you, it is still a pest. So get ready for it. It is not about the pest, it's about what you do to combat it or to chase them or to take them out of your farm. There are many ways you can do that. So the reason for dry season pest is no rain. That is their period when they come out, search for food, store up for rainy season. So that is when they come around to feed on your crop. So, but in rainy season, we fight more of diseases because this pest would hibernate. Not all, but majority of them will hibernate. And for example, now, squash bug. There's a pest called squash bug. Squash bug most times does not come out in rainy season, but in dry season, that squash bug is a sucking pest.
Insect.
It will suck sorry, insect. It will suck the nutrients from the vines, from the leaves, and many things. So white fly, both rainy season, dry season, they are there. Aphids are there. So now where I'm going is in rainy season, because of the rain, the regular rain, and the water touching the leaves and the vines of this crop, they don't really like it. So that's why we have drip irrigation, where the water is supplying the soil and the root system is tapping from the soil, not the leaves, not like your leafy vegetables like the local ones, the shoko, the water leaf, the ugu. Those ones enjoy it when you give it to them. Nothing, you just need to handle them with care and they will be fine. But for the fruits and some other vegetables like tomatoes and cucumbers, they don't want water touching their leaves. So in rainy season, the water, the rain falling would the water coming from the sky would touch their leaves and it will infect them with diseases. So that is why we have many diseases in rainy season, and in dry season we have more of pests in dry season. Mind you, pests will still come in rainy season, diseases will still come in dry season as
I
well.
see that. Absolutely. Thank you so very much. I just wanted you to, give that explanation, particularly, and I think you touched a bit on it, where people had said, oh, but when you had the session, this was the kind of disease or pest we talked about. Why am I seeing other ones? I think your analysis has helped in addressing it. An anonymous attendee, wrote something, and I think it's quite hilarious, the first part, but then it's a big message, the person is passing. And the person says the air around your farm needs to be organic too. It's hilarious, to say the air. How do you make your air organic? But then the follow-up conversation then says, I think a lot of people don't understand what organic means. Yes, organic pesticide, fertilizer, and co, but farming organic is pretty much more than this. Well, if you want to go fully into that, yeah, you need to see the experts, yes, and have more time with our panelists today, to help you probably go deeper into that. But I align and I agree with you that it is a whole lot on its own. So somebody is saying, can we touch soilless farming in the diaspora at the time, but it looks like it became a popular alternative to traditional farming. Do you think soilless farming could solve some of the issues associated with traditional farming? So yes, over to you, our experts. Mr. Sheon.
Okay, before I talk about soil farming, the one of uh, um, the person that's talk about the organic farming, I mean the air on your farm. Now the person is actually correct. Now, if you want to do organic farming, you shouldn't, pitch your tent close to an inorganic farmer. You should
Yeah.
avoid, you should give them some distance, at least 300 meters away, or keep a very good distance from inorganic farmers, because the air from your farm or from the inorganic farm can come into your farm and
Contaminate. Yeah.
affect your organic practice. Again, the what's it called? The pests at the same time can also come into your farm. They can fly into your farm. They can feed on your own organic crops as well. Talking about the pollinators too, they can pollinate, or they can, pollinate. They can sting and come to your organic farm to pollinate your own crops too. So these are the things you must be careful. So if you are trying to do organic farming, you look for a location where it is far from, inorganic farmers. And that is why we need to also look at soilless farming, look at greenhouse production. So it is a good solution. I'm also a greenhouse farmer. I'm into greenhouse production, and the solution is very good. And what I'm just trying to say is, it is just the major thing there is many farmers cannot afford the greenhouse. The affordability is the challenge now. Talking about the cost of doing it, many Nigerians, young farmers who are trying to, start the agri business or journey, so cannot afford the greenhouse, but is a very good solution. I'm talking about the pest and disease management, control of controlling the moisture, controlling the condition of the crop. So the soilless farming, it is just a practice where we don't, a process, or the process of producing crop without using the soil. So different other substrates, or soil nutrients, or different solutions that we use to grow some of our crops in a covered environment, whereby we control many things happening there. So mind you, the production is always top notch, it's always better, it's always good. The production will come out well. You will get at least, you know, if not no 90% and above yield if done very well. Yeah, we have seen many failed soilless farming or production farmers as well. I've seen many failed hydroponics farmers in Nigeria as well. I've seen a lot of failed projects in the greenhouse as well. It's not about the having I have a greenhouse, let me go and sleep. No, you still must do some things to take care. Everything still depends on the good agronomic practices. So it is soilless farming is a good solution, is a very good one, but how many people can afford it? That is the
All
question.
right. Thank you. I think scaling soilless farm is the basic conversation. We know, yes, it will help you condition your entire environment for the crop to thrive. But in terms of scaling, that's the challenge. I hear Favor is back online. Favor, are you able to speak? If yes, I would like you to address the question. We've had some of our participants ask, where do we get the right seed? We've heard a lot around hybrid seed, around seed being, the basis for your yield at the end of the day. So can you just advise or respond to that if you're online now, please?
All right, can you hear me?
Okay, yes, Favor, you're loud and clear now. Thank God. Yes, you can go ahead.
Yeah, sorry for the whole background issue, noise and everything. Basically, I am part of the National Agricultural Seed Council, and we analyze, we formulate programs that help seed development and research. We're also in charge of testing seeds, registration, release, production, marketing, distribution, certification, and quality control supply in Nigeria, both nationally, local seeds and the one imported. We do all of that. And basically for people who are asking for seeds, just like you have said, there are different kinds of seed. Of course, we have the local seed, the OPV seeds that farmers recycle, and the improved varieties, of course, and we have the hybrid seeds. And our job is to connect farmers to seed companies who can supply quality seeds, and not just supplying those quality seeds. They should be able to, get the characteristics that are true to type. What I mean true to type, of course, there are many. We have over 400 seed companies in Nigeria that are registered, but functional seed companies are around 35. And most times we see in the market, the purification of fake seeds, because farmers, although in the market chain, we have those suppliers that the distributors. Most times because of, their test for gain, they end up recycling or, combining local seeds with certified seeds. So for those who really want good seeds, they could come through us. What we do, we connect them to the seed suppliers, the seed companies, and then their seeds are supplied. Majorly, we don't just, connect you, we help you to understand the characteristics of seed, because it's not enough for you to go for the best seed, but what about the agricultural practices that is needed for that seed to develop, knowing that we have a lot of things that can make even the best of seed not to do well. The climate change is there, and the soil type, the practices. So we help train farmers. If you are using a hybrid seed, there is a predetermined characteristics or farming practice that you should go for. And when you are not able to achieve that, no matter how wonderful your seed may be, you may not get a good yield. So basically, I don't just advise farmers to just go to seed company, get this. We are here to help you understand the kind of seed you're using, understand the region where that seed will thrive very well. Because I see many farmers coming to us, I'm in the South region, I've been able to get premier seeds, getting this hybrid seed of maize, and it's not doing well. Have you ever, sit back to check if the seed it can be able to thrive in that environment? So these are the things we help you to understand. We help you to know the yield per hectare. We help you to know what input you needed to put in to ensure, a good harvest. So basically we do that. Getting quality seed is our own business, and we connect you. We have list of companies who have such wonderful seeds to give you every kind of arable crop you need, and we're there to train you from the beginning to the end to get what you want. Thank you.
Awesome, Favor. We've enjoyed speaking with Shane the entire time, so we'll need to enjoy you for some few more minutes. You touched on a number of things. You talked on the open pollinated variety, OPVs, and then the hybrid varieties as well. In terms of, of course, I know this sits a lot under your purview and all, but for young people going into agriculture today, like the conversation we've been having, since we started, what would you advise? What variety would you advise, that they need to really look out to? So that's question one. And then question two is hinged on the regional seed genetics that we have. I would like, to say how accessible is, your organization for young people going into, is it something I can just make a call, or we can just send a WhatsApp and you can advise us, or we always have to, look for a way to identify where your office is, meet with the desk officer there, and also, if you could just answer those two questions in one, would be very great. Thank you, Favor.
All right, so I want to start with the OPV. We call it the open pollinated variety. There is the improved OPV. Of course, for those who are listening, OPVs are seeds that you could recycle year in, year out. For example, an improved variety of maize, which is an OPV, when you plant by next year, you can be able to use the seed to, recultivate. But have it at the back of your mind, the yield decreased by 10%. That is another thing. And then we still have the issue of cross-pollination in OPV, making a kind of contamination to the genetics. So it depends on what you actually want. So most times when people come to me and say, oh, what kind of seed do I want to plant? What do you advise me to plant? I ask you some series of questions. The first question I want to ask you is that, what is your projected yield per your acquired hectare? Some will say, oh, please, I just have 2 hectares. Some will say, oh, I just have 1. Some will say, just a little plot and all of that. The land area you are cultivating will it's a means for me to advise, okay, why not go for an OPV, knowing that, okay, there might be limitations as to your maintenance, because truly hybrid seed yields high, but of course the inputs and the practice to maintain a hybrid seed is quite different from OPV. Okay, so it needs more, what we call more training, of course, more inputs, more guide to raise hybrid seed. But for the OPV, I tell people, when you are going into this, kindly go for OPV. Practice, just like the first speaker said. Know what, if you are going into this for the first time, use OPV6 and then ask question. I talked about the issue of region. Very, very important. Just like I say, it's easy for you to give us a call or send a message on WhatsApp. Oh, I'm in so region. I need an OPV seed. I don't really have money to invest in buying seed the next year. So I just want to go for this seed. So we advise you go for OPV seeds. Maize varieties are very good. You could always keep them and use them for the next year and all of that. But some others will tell you, please, I need a very high yield. I just want one off. Of course, we know use of hybrid seed is something you use once. You can't use it for the next year, okay? So your planning, most times when you want to ask for seed, I will ask you, please, can I get your seed planning and production for the year? I will be able to go through what you have on ground for me to advise you on what to do. So it's not enough for you to just enter the market, get any seed, and you just think at the end of the harvest year, you just reap bountifully. And as somebody will tell you, agriculture has a lot of risk. Yes, it does, but with the right guide and mentorship, you will be able to get it. Like the first speaker said, there are lots of things, involved in all of this that we cannot cover in this webinar. But answering your second question, of course, we are very accessible. My LinkedIn profile is there. My WhatsApp number is there. All you need to do, just give us, send a message, and then we'll tell you how to go about it. In fact, I mentioned seed planning production. That's another skill on its own, because in that seed planning production, your hectareage, your projected seed quantity, per hole will be there. The certified seed that you want to use, the method of planting, the issue of the whole testing, they are all there. And this is not what we discuss in one webinar. It's something that you will need to be trained so that whenever, if you decide to invest 500,000, after you investing 500,000, you should be able to project your yield at the end of the harvest, putting into consideration climate change, putting into consideration pests and diseases, putting into consideration other external factors that might reduce your yield. So it's far beyond just picking seed, checking the regional, so that's a regional capability of such seed thriving, and a whole lot more. So I don't know if I was able to answer your question.
Yes, thank you so very much, Favor. Even though in between you went very technical, and but we are very glad that you were able to do justice to those questions. So I will still be coming back to you. I think we still have some time, like I've just been told by our host. So we'll still be able to run through a few questions. So I know we've dwelt a lot around vegetable production. Of course, that's what Mr. Sheon does full time, and is so passionate about discussing and sharing his experience there. But for everyone, on this call, some people might say, I do not want to go into planting, but I want to be involved in crop production. So, Mr. Shen, would you want to run us through the available value chains, on that crop production that, young people can say, okay, I don't want to go to the farm. Maybe I'll just be supplying you seeds. Maybe I'll just be liaising with the likes of Favor and be providing seeds. Or maybe I'll just be liaising with, another person. And, so there are different aspects to all of these things. Would you like to just share some light so that our participant can know, okay, what area they can key into and then begin to thrive in the crop production business?
All right. Thank you so much for that question. Now, uh, there are other value chain in the crop production uh, different place. Now, it's not compulsory go into plant. In fact, there was a time I organized a training, uh, and the training is focusing on people who do not want to even have anything to do with planting or production. So you can go into agro inputs. We have different people that are, playing in this industry, in this sector, agro inputs. We have input dealers. There are many of them. They supply farmers the inputs needed. So you can go into aggregation of produce. Go into aggregation. I have a friend, what she does is, buy from producers. She's the link between the markets and the farmers. So you can go into aggregation. You don't need to plant, you don't need to have a farm, you don't need to do that. So you just need to understand how to aggregate, understand how to uptake, understand the business, understand the markets, and be the link, connect farmers to organization, connect farmers to open market, connect farmers to buyers, suppliers, different places. You can go into commodity trading like produce. You can open a mart where you sell. So I have a friend also in Lagos that has a store. He has a store. He buys from farmers and sell in his store. So you can be of taking. You're not aggregating this time around. You are selling like commodity trading. You are selling the commodity. So there are different parts you can play. You can play as a commodity trader. You can play as uh, agro dealer or input dealer. You can also go into what we call cluster farming. Like you can be the one to administrate or administer, sorry, the farmers. Like you can go also into agriculture, or let me just use the word training and mentorship. So though I do tell many people you can't give what you don't have. And the issue of farming or agriculture, it requires, hands-on experience. So most times I've seen many people that have, they have been, people have challenged them saying, oh, you are teaching us what you're not practicing. You are teaching us what you don't know. I'll tell them, no, these people have practiced before. Maybe they stopped at some point or they got the knowledge, but the knowledge became obsolete because they are not doing it again. So you can go into training and mentorship. that's enlightening people about agriculture. There are other parts you can also touch. You can go into processing, like processing the produce, food processing, talking about adding value addition. You can pick some of these pepper. I have a friend who does not even want to go into planting. His own is just to uptake chili pepper from producer, dry it, blend it, package it, and sell to the market. So he has added value, that's changed form, and more money has come into his own pockets. So there are other parts you can, still work on. You can even go into agri real estate. People are doing that now, into getting farmland for farmers, or opening a real agricultural or a farm settlement, whereby farmers can always come around and lease from you. You have been able to create the land. You have given them the access to irrigation and some other amenities like farmhouse and other tractors. Then you can also go into land preparation. That's another part of the one of the value chain as well. Soil preparation, land preparation. I have a friend, he's an engineer. He's into soil preparation. They have tractors and they have some other, machineries they use and give to farmers. Farmers cannot afford tractor, but they can always lease or lend it from these people. So these are areas you can, many other value chain, but these are the ones I would like to just mention for now.
All right, awesome. Thank you very much, Mr. Sean, for even though you tried to play down on the number of value chains, but you still mentioned more than 10 that I have listed here. So it's still a lot. Just to rehash it for people, he said you could begin to sell inputs. You could begin to buy the chemicals and then begin to sell. You could begin to buy the seeds and begin to sell. That's one value chain. You could begin to aggregate. So you are not producing, but you are getting all the um, output or harvest from the farmers, and you keep it. Maybe when there is now, say, it's the glut season are over, you can then decide to bring it out to sell. You're aggregating. You can do commodity trading, which you try to also explain, which is direct. You already have a buyer to buy the 1 ton of maize. You go and look for the farmer, get the 1 ton of maize, and immediately give it to the person who wants to, who requires it. So you are doing commodity training. You also talked about training, which of course I know he's doing a lot around that as well. You could begin to train. Of course, that is also hinged on the level of knowledge that you also have yourself. You could begin to go into administrative, um, uh, uh, for lack of better word, clustering, so to say. So you manage all the cluster, you set up the cluster and you get them involved. They're able to access better loans, better facility together jointly. You can be the one to facilitate all those. You're not the farmer, you're not going to farm, but then you're able to help them secure the land and every other thing that they need. And then you begin to manage that process for them. That's also a thing you can make your money from it. You can go into processing. Of course, we cannot overemphasize that. We've heard a lot around this value chain. And processing, like they say, is not having a machine or having a processing center. Your processing can just be the cassava is dirty when they harvest it and you just wash it with water. And by the time you bring it to me, you're selling it plus maybe 100 naira difference. It's already, you've done one level of processing to it already, so don't think of processing as, oh, I have to make cocoa chocolate. No, you can just be washing the pot and giving it to the next person. And that's the processing you have done. And it's value for money for you. You can do that. He also touched on you could do transport, you could do logistics, you could just say, okay, this is your product. I'll be okay to move it to the person who needs it. I'll charge you extra money to move it. And you have a vehicle that does that, well managed, you're making your business. Would they say you're in agriculture? Absolutely, yes. Are you in the business of crop production? 100% yes. You're just moving agricultural or crop production produce from one point to the other, and you're making your cool cash. He also talked about farm machineries. If you are very buoyant, you can afford to buy a tractor. That could be your business. And then you begin to, go to farms to help them plow, harrow, and do whatsoever farming activities that your tractor can support them in doing. And then finally, I think he touched it as well when he talked about preparation. So you could also do a number of things, I'll just cap it in those few things where he has said. There are a number of questions, right? And I don't know, I'm going to push it. But some people say, how can I access land in Abuja? I want to go into it's not for my facilitator to tell you how to access land. Though. You need to go to the right place to get information on land, right? He's an agric expert. He might have an idea on land, but I'm not going to pose that question to him. But please go to the right channel to access your land, right? If you need to buy, if you don't want to lease, if you don't want to rent, please go to the right channel who would give you the proper legal advice, so that you don't say, Mr. Shenwa has told you, or Madam Favor has told you what to do, and then you get the land, and tomorrow you say we gave you the information that is not doing well. Someone here says, Daniel says he farms he farms rice, and he would like to learn more insight on rice production and processing. So just note that question. You might just want to touch a little bit on it. Daniel, if you're hearing me, if you can just note, I don't know, are you doing lowland rice or upland rice, so that you can guide facilitator to just, touch bit on it as well. Someone says, can you shed some light on vertical farming? Just please note all those questions. I'm just trying to run through them in the interest of time so that we can get our final words from our two panelists today. Sir, can we use water that is discharged from catfish pond to wet our plant direct? Yes, wet the soil, not the plant, as he has advised you, right? Yes, it is also rich. At least he has said it at one point. Thank you, Mr. Sheung, like they say, for a time and the question. How do I manage to control the wastage of the cucumbers? Mr. Sheung, just note that question. You'll be able to help. I would love to learn about how
Please,
to install
the question again, please. That question
okay.
again. Sorry, I
Okay,
didn't
so
the last one.
yeah, he said, Mr. Sheon, thank you so much for your time. My question is, how do you manage to control the wastage of the cucumbers? So yeah, probably in the place where there's glut and you have so much you cannot sell. I'm assuming, on his behalf. I would love to learn how to install drip irrigation system. He had made an open advertisement, to say come and do his training. So go and find him online, right? How can we prepare your land for ugu farming to ensure good yield? Okay, I'm looking for one additional question. Maybe I'm going to push it to Madam Favor. Okay, are there available sources of funds to finance my agribusiness if I don't have the startup capital? Were you in the session earlier on agri financing? So maybe you just watch back. I know this thing will be posted on the PSAG Nigeria platform on YouTube and also on Facebook. So you have opportunity to rewatch, every point that you probably had missed. You'll be able to get those information and then to move on fully on that. So okay. All right. So I'm getting so many questions. What other ways, can we do the cassava to get better yield? Okay, so obviously, we'll not be able to exhaust all the very personal questions, but I'm sure that after now, you have the opportunity to speak with him on LinkedIn, and I'm sure he will oblige you. Just tell him you were on the Business of Agriculture Masterclass so that he does not begin to think of how to charge you, right? This platform is a philanthropical platform, so he will be able to just, give you all those information. So, Mr. Chairman, I'll just allow you very briefly to respond to that, and then I'll come to Madam Favor to also do one or two justice, and then we wrap up this session.
All right, thank you. I've been able to note some of these questions talking about rice farming, vertical farming, fish waste, the water waste from the fish farm, cassava farming, then waste post harvest loss, and many others. Now, let me start from the cassava farming question. How to do it to get a good results, in a better way, or uh, everything boils down to number one, your soil preparation, not just for cassava alone. If you are doing soil-based farming, you must prepare your soil very well. So, one of the secrets to maize farming, let me even talk about maize, then I'll connect it to cassava. One of the biggest secrets in maize farming is the soil. If you get it right with the soil, you prepare the soil very well. you will get a good result. Again, not just preparing the soil. After preparing the soil, you feed the soil. You feed the soil. It is what you have in soil. And all these things boils down to understanding the soil nutrient composition, understanding what is in the soil. Don't just, bombard everything with NPK, bombard with, different kind of fertilizer. No. Understand what is in your soil, the macronutrients, the micronutrients needed. So you won't just keep, overfeed your crops. So you understand the nutrients in the soil, then feed the soil, prepare the soil very well. The same as cassava, but cassava farming, once you have been able to prepare your soil, and I don't do this, uh, ridges like other farmers or some other local farmers do. What you do is make sure you can also do this bed system, the long bed system, and you make sure you break your cassava stem into the same sizes, and understand how to insert this cassava into the soil. The soil must be soft and be flabby enough to receive the the root system growing into tuber in the soil. So it will be able to penetrate into the soil very well. That is one of the secrets. Understand how to insert the stem. Then, excuse me, the management. Go there, do the weeding as at when needed, and pour more soil on it. After the weeding, you add more soil to the cassava at the base. It will give you the reason to have a big tuber and get more results. Some farmers are doing 30 bundles on 1 acre. I do 60 bundles on my 1 acre. That's for the cassava farming. If you want to learn more, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn or any other social media. Just search for my name there. Now, for the fish water waste, you uh, you can use it, but be careful. I'm a fish farmer. I've done it before, so but be careful because the particles or the residue from the fish feed and their waste can block your irrigation channel. So be careful. This water is very good, but if you must do that, you must get an irrigation expert that can help you fix your irrigation, add filter at different junction to ensure that the water and the nutrients mixed together is what is going into your crop. You can use it, but make sure it is the waste or the residue or some particles there is not obstructing the water flow of your from the waste to the irrigation channel. So you can use your
Okay.
fish water is a very good source of uh, nutrients for your crop. You can use it. It's a very good one. For vertical farming, what is vertical farming? Very simple. Vertical farming is the practice of growing crops in a vertically or horizontally stacked layers, or let me say vertical system. Or we have the feeding or the trough, we have vertical what's it called, layers in the greenhouse that we use. And it's more or less growing, in the air. Some people say growing in the air, some people call it different. I have not done it before. I have not practiced it, so I can't really talk more about it. I can't say more about it. I know my friend Samson Gole is a good farmer in that area. So he's training people on vertical farming. You can learn more. You can connect with him on LinkedIn as well. So that's for vertical farming. At the same time, before I even move to the next question, is a good model, but it is quite expensive. It's quite expensive. So why not even try start from soil-based farming, then let's grow and advance into the IRMs. Now, talking
Yeah.
about
Mr. Shem,
rice.
just let me cut you a little bit there. I will come back to those questions.
Okay.
I just want Madam Favor to speak, and then we'll come to you so that we can wrap up very quickly. There are a host of questions. Participant, just note, you're asking me for Madam Favor's number and email. You can see her name. I'm sure anytime she speaks, you can see her name, Favor Agbo. Just check her on LinkedIn, right? And her LinkedIn is so easy that even her phone number is virtually on her profile page, so you will get to see it. You can't miss it. Mr. Shenwa as well, just look for him. I see people already saying they have sent you messages or chats on LinkedIn and you have not responded. I'm like, you are still speaking. How do they want you to respond? But anyway, it just shows how, curious our participants want to gain knowledge, and then they want to also improve on themselves. So, Madam Favor, quick questions to you, right? Somebody asked a question on our chat saying, is there anything like organic seed? That's one question. Now, the second part of the question is, you said seeds are regional based, as it were, in terms of the one that will do best in what region and all. And their question is, if I am going into soilless farming, would I still need to consider this regionality in the seeds? Hi, Favor, are you online?
Right. Can you hear me?
Yes, you can. We can hear you now. Thank you.
All right. Organic seed. There is nothing like organic seed, but we have what we call the organic farming practice. It's the same seed you use for both the inorganic farming practice and the only difference is that the issue of putting chemicals is at minimal. Yeah, so that's just the difference. So even with your OPV seeds, you could still achieve an organic produce. The difference is in the pest management, the cultivation, the land preparation. You ensure that every practice you use is strictly organic. Like one question I heard about pest management, and one of the things I advise people is what we call the integrated pest management, whereby you integrate both the biological method. For example, those that were cultivating beans last year in Kaduna, farmers had to introduce ladybug into the field. So instead of investing so much chemicals into the field, they just had to, introduce this. And at the end of the day, they were able to save costs and, have an increased harvest. So there is nothing like organic seed. You could also work with hybrid seeds if your intention is getting high yields and still implement an organic practice. So this is what we do. When clients come that, oh, we want organic produce, we'll tell you the kind of seed, because not all hybrid seeds can give you what you want, and not all OPV seeds can give you what you want. So we just ask you, just like I said initially, what is your objective at the end of this harvest period? You want to go into organic? Yes, we have improved varieties that are drought tolerant in such a way that you wouldn't, necessarily need much fertilizers, much input of chemical for you to get your yield. There are smart, climate seeds that has been integrated. Of recent, we just did the image project on genetically influenced cassava varieties. And we realized some farmers, these days, farmers are, they tend to go for the climate smart seeds. Yes, because to them, to some extent, it saved them from some of this, climatic problem and soil degradation and all of that. So please, there is nothing like organic seed. When you come, we'll be able to guide you, because that is what we do. Let me leave that because there's a whole lot to talk about that. I want to talk about the issue of, I don't know, can you kindly repeat the second one, the third question?
Regionality. So it's just the second question, the regionality, that if I'm
Yes.
going into soilless farm lab, do I still need to consider region specific variety, like you said?
Yes, you don't really need to, because the idea of soilless farming is a kind of technology. That is what we call the vertical farming system in Nigeria. It's a technology whereby crops are grown in controlled environments, so thereby reducing the dependency on weather or soil conditions. So invariably, when you are doing this hydroponics or aeroponics, whatever vertical layer, stack layers you want to use, you really don't need to consider region at this point in time. But of course, your investment will be hugely on ensuring that this controlled environment has to be, of top-notch, top-notch, the facility has to be very good. Of course, something like what we have, the farmhouse, or what they call the aeroponics. Of course, there are facilities you need to put in place, and those are cost effective. So I tell people who are entering into agriculture, first of all, consider the soil production of plants. Know what is there, of crops, sorry. Know what is there, know what is obtainable. At least 2 to 3 years, I advise, before you talk about going into the vertical farming. So for region, of course, for region-oriented seeds, it's not needed, is not a factor to be included in vertical farming because it's a controlled environment. Thank you.
All right, thank you so very much. So I think in the interest of time, we just have 2 minutes. I'm just going to rush this to say final words, and I would like your final words to be as short and concise as possible. So Favor, you just want to take the first shot?
Okay, thank you so much. This section has been an amazing one. And I want to talk about opportunities, future opportunities for agriculture. I heard, a lot of people asking questions about how that's the chain, the value chain they could go into. And I tell people that crop production has a future. It has a future, and anybody who is investing in crop production has to be very futuristic. Don't just go into agriculture because you see other people going into agriculture. Go into crop production with the intention that you will be relevant in the next 10, 15 years. Your business will be relevant, and no matter how the economic the economy of agriculture is, no matter how risky going into business is, you will still be able to thrive. So I will still want to talk about the expansion of biofortified crop. This is what we are looking out into. If I were looking, last week, we had different seed companies coming together. We're trying to make them understand that we need genetically modified seed to be able to stand the test of time from now to the next 20 years, 30 years. So, and one of those traits we're looking at is those biofortified crops. So please, if you're going into production, have it at the back of your mind that biofortified crops are crops that not just will bring yield, but you are catering for nutrition, and that is what the world is going into. It's not just about eating, but what is the sustainability like? What's the health factor all about? And then I want to talk about water management in terms of what is happening, flooding and all of that. Please, when you're going into agriculture, consider an effective water management solution. There are so many, system. I heard someone talking about drip irrigation and all of that, but you could also consider other, low-cost rainwater harvesting technologies that are very cheap for smallholder farmers. So consider all of this. There are also what we call the niche. Don't just go into agriculture because you just want to go into it. Create a niche for yourself. Yes, everybody's going to cassava, going into that's cowpea, going into maize. But have you ever thought that there are also niches? As at last 2 months ago, we were going into implementing the more production of ginger, moringa, and some organic vegetables, just like the other speaker was talking about. So you could look into that. Another area I want us to look into for those who are going to cropping and you don't really want to get involved in, the whole production. What about the renewable energy in farming? You could also provide solar powered irrigation system for these farmers. They are looking for it, and it's a very lucrative area. This will reduce farmers' reliance on costly fuel generators and all of that. And most importantly, agricultural technology. Our young people these days, sometimes when you look at the risk involved, the amount of knowledge needed to go into crop production, they feel discouraged. But what about leveraging on agri-tech platforms? For example, this farm crowding, they connect farmers to investors. How about going into such? How about connecting, farm inputs to buyers through the software? You could develop softwares that could connect, farmers, whatever the value chain. It could be the farmers, the distributors, it could be seed, it could be infrastructure. So we should also look into that. We also have, even if you want to go into crop production, we could also guide you in getting smart fertilizers and soil health innovations. Yes, that niche is really growing, and most people are not looking into it. Everybody is just talking, I want to produce this, I want to produce that. But how about looking out into all of this? So I would, in a nutshell, there are a lot of things to discuss, but because of time, I will just stop here. AI, data analysis. In fact, in Nigeria now, even in the sixth sector, agriculture, we need data. How about going into data in crop production? We could guide you, especially those who have tech skills. We could integrate it. And even the ones I had like contacts of, seed companies that have asked for a list of, innovative farmers who are ready to just become outgrowers. So you're not bringing in any shishi into this business. All you need to do, bring in your zeal, bring in that passion, and we connect you. Those same companies are ready to train you. Those same companies are ready to put you through. They're even ready to guide you and even source for land. So there are a lot of opportunities that are out there around crop production. And I know that if you get the right information, the right guidance, you could even do more. And when somebody asks, are you in the value chain of crop production? You will beat your chest and say, yes, I am in. So I just want to stop here because of our time.
Thank you very much, Madam Favor. How I wish, we had you earlier on, we could have expanded on some of the conversations you have brought on. But thank you so very much. I'm sure that our participants will be reaching out to you on LinkedIn and on other means, just to ensure that they can tap into this opportunity around crop production that you have spoken on. Mr. Shen, if you're still online, just like you, now you have 30 seconds. For Madam Favor, we could allow her because she's been off for a while, but for you, 30 seconds is fine now. Thank you very much. Your final words.
Okay, thank you so much for the time. I want to appreciate the audience as well for those questions. It's obvious that they were following. All right, so for those of you that I want to connect with you on LinkedIn, I'm there waiting for you. Quick one, take home for this session. Understand before coming into crop production. I mentioned it earlier and I'm going to repeat it. Madam Favor has said a lot already. I don't need to repeat what she said. That is exactly what I want to say. But I just want to emphasize on the issue of gaining mastery, knowing this business. Go for knowledge, know it very well, understand the gaps. Don't just jump into crop production because someone is doing it and is cashing out or is making money. Know what it entails. Know your business model and build a structure around it. Again, is you must learn patience. Don't come into the business because uh, because of this get rich quick syndrome, or you just want to get all your money at once, and you want to. It's not a get rich quick scheme. It requires patience, and like people will say, follow who know road. Follow people that understand this thing. Let them let them hold you by your hands and lead you. Like she have mentioned, Madam Favor mentioned, talking about their training. Go for training, go for knowledge, and you'll get it right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so very much to all our panelists. Again, just to reiterate, we had Favor with us, Favor's Agbo from the National Agricultural Seed Council, and thank you for your wealth of knowledge and also initiatives that young people can tap into around crop production. It's like when I hear our host already saying they want to become a farmer by virtue of the conversations that we have had. So thanks to you, moderators. We also had Mr. Seun Solomon, the CEO of AgriWealth Limited, share with us full insight. Of course, he's focusing now in his business more on horticulture, and you can hear he's even doing other things as well. So graciously, you would have had to go through a process to be able to have a one-on-one 30-minute session with our panelists, but they are so gracious, in what they do and very passionate at it. So they really want us to succeed as young people going into crop production. And they have said, hey, you can reach out to me personally online. So we'd like to also thank you for the openness and for the willingness, to support us as we grow in this field. In my final words, just as I end because I'm already past my time already, is just to say to everyone, we have learned from the experts. There is indeed opportunity in crop production. There is indeed thriving, profitable opportunities that we can venture into. We might not go to the farm, we might not put seed into the soil, but there are other things within the crop production value chain that we can go into and tap significantly from. So once again, we'd like to say thank you to everyone for joining. We know there are other sessions after this, so we implore you and crave your indulgence. If you still have some time, please stay tuned for those other sessions that will be coming up shortly as well. Thank you once again to everyone, and do have a great day ahead. Bye-bye.